Bread is one of the oldest prepared foods on earth. Archaeologists discovered bread-like remains in Jordan that are more than 14,000 years old, making bread thousands of years older than agriculture itself. Before humans cultivated crops, hunter-gatherers were already grinding wild grains and mixing them with water to create primitive flatbreads cooked on hot stones. This simple invention became one of the foundations of civilization. Today, nearly every culture has its own version of bread, but almost all of them can be traced back to two major families: unleavened breads, which stay flat, and leavened breads, which rise through fermentation. The discovery of fermentation was revolutionary. Around 3000 BCE, in ancient Egypt, wild yeast accidentally entered dough and produced carbon dioxide, creating a lighter, softer loaf. Egyptians embraced the process so enthusiastically that bread became a form of currency, and some workers were paid partly in bread and beer. Archaeologists have identified dozens of bread varieties from ancient Egyptian records, showing that bread diversity began thousands of years ago. The oldest surviving category is flatbread. These breads are made without yeast or with minimal fermentation, allowing them to cook quickly and travel easily. Pita from the Middle East is famous for its pocket, which forms when steam inflates the dough during baking and separates the interior into layers. Naan from South and Central Asia is traditionally baked against the walls of a clay tandoor oven, creating smoky flavors and charred spots. Roti, made with whole wheat flour and water, remains a daily staple for hundreds of millions of people across India and neighboring countries. In the Americas, tortillas became the backbone of entire civilizations. Indigenous peoples developed nixtamalization, a process that treats corn with an alkaline solution before grinding it into dough. This technique not only improves flavor and texture, but also unlocks vital nutrients. Historians consider it one of the most important food processing discoveries in human history because it helped sustain large populations such as the Maya and Aztecs. Meanwhile, Ethiopia developed injera, a fermented flatbread made from tiny teff grains. Its sponge-like texture allows it to function as both plate and utensil, making it one of the most distinctive breads in the world. As wheat cultivation spread across Europe, leavened breads evolved into countless regional styles. White bread became associated with wealth because refining flour required labor-intensive milling that removed the bran and germ. Whole wheat bread, by contrast, retained the entire grain and was often considered bread of ordinary people. Sourdough emerged as one of the oldest and most influential bread-making techniques, relying on wild yeast and naturally occurring bacteria instead of commercial yeast. These microorganisms produce acids that create sourdough's distinctive tangy flavor while also helping preserve the bread. Some sourdough starters have been maintained continuously for over a century. In colder northern climates where wheat struggled to grow, rye became essential. Rye breads are typically darker, denser, and longer lasting than wheat breads. Germany's famous pumpernickel, for example, is traditionally baked for up to 24 hours at low temperatures, allowing natural sugars to darken the loaf without added coloring. This slow process creates the deep color and rich flavor that make pumpernickel unique. France and Italy transformed bread into an art form. The baguette, recognized worldwide for its crisp crust and airy interior, became a symbol of French baking culture and was added to UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage list in 2022. A traditional baguette contains only 4 basic ingredients: flour, water, salt, and yeast, yet mastering it can take years of practice. Italy responded with its own iconic breads. Focaccia, often considered an ancestor of pizza, dates back to ancient Rome and uses generous amounts of olive oil to create a crisp exterior and soft interior. Ciabatta, despite appearing ancient, was actually invented in 1982 to compete with the growing popularity of French baguettes. Its extremely wet dough creates the large, irregular air pockets that define its texture. Pizza dough itself belongs to the bread family, and traditional Neapolitan pizza is baked at temperatures exceeding 400 degrees Celsius. producing a crust that combines crispness, chewiness, and complex fermentation flavors in less than 2 minutes. Some breads became famous because of unusual preparation methods. Bagels, which originated within Jewish communities of Eastern Europe, are boiled before baking. This process gelatinizes the outer layer of dough and creates the chewy texture that distinguishes bagels from ordinary bread. Pretzels achieve their glossy brown crust through a similar chemical trick. Before baking, the dough is dipped in an alkaline solution, which accelerates browning and produces the pretzel's characteristic flavor. Challah, another important bread in Jewish tradition, is known for its braided appearance and rich dough made with eggs. The intricate braids can contain 6, 8, or even more strands, transforming bread into edible craftsmanship. Across East Asia, steaming rather than baking became the preferred method. Chinese mantou are cooked entirely with steam, producing a fluffy texture and bright white appearance. In Japan, milk bread uses a technique called tangjong, where part of the flour is cooked into a paste before mixing the dough. This allows the bread to hold more moisture, creating the exceptionally soft texture that has made Japanese milk bread popular worldwide. Bread also adapted to necessity, survival, and local ingredients. Brioche from France contains so much butter and egg that it sits somewhere between bread and pastry. Cornbread developed in North America using indigenous corn growing traditions and became especially important in regions where wheat was less common. Irish soda bread solved the problem of expensive yeast by using baking soda and acidic buttermilk to create rapid leavening. At the opposite extreme sits hardtack, perhaps the most durable bread ever made. Consisting mainly of flour, water, and salt, hardtack could survive years at sea and became a staple food for sailors and soldiers. Some historical examples have remained intact for decades. From prehistoric flatbreads cooked on stones to artisan sourdoughs crafted with century-old starters, bread tells the story of human civilization. Every loaf reflects local geography, available grains, cultural traditions, and scientific discoveries. Few foods have evolved into so many forms, traveled across so many continents, or fed more people throughout history. Bread is not just food, it is one of humanity's oldest technologies and one of its greatest inventions.